Welcome to my series on stories based on my gameplay. I try to make Skyrim more like a novel, where it's played by many different characters throughout different story arcs. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. Hopefully these intros will change over time, not so boring and bland, but my idea of this is to kind of make, like I said, Skyrim more of a novelization. And you'll see me playing many different characters throughout Skyrim's timeline, from good, bad, and the in-between. So it's never going to be the same character, because it doesn't make much sense that the Dragonborn is the hero of Skyrim and Tamriel, and that they're also the champion of the Civil War, and that they're a master of every guild. Through a story perspective, it doesn't make much sense. So with this entire idea, my entire aim is to change the way Skyrim feels, from one character doing all to many different characters, and they'll all have their own separate stories, their own mark on life, their own place in Skyrim. But when the world catches fire with giant breathing lizards, maybe a few of their stories might interweave and tangle together. Maybe they might be the ones to save the saviour. You know, throughout history there's been so many people that have been known to save a certain people or a certain civilization, and what people seem to forget that there was people there that helped them get there. So this entire story is based on that. It's pretty much based on the Dragonborn story. But to get there, we must go through first a lot of other stories before the time is right. And hopefully you'll enjoy. So I'm going to release these as chapters. I really hope you guys enjoy these. If you like it, remember to like and subscribe, and also to comment, because I like to have conversations. And so if you like this sort of stuff, leave a comment. I don't really care if you subscribe or not. That's up to you. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys enjoy as much as I hated editing it. Anyway, have a good one and enjoy.
Chapter 1, The Last Gate. It all starts in the year 04 of the Fourth Era, 4 years after the Oblivion Crisis. How did I end up here? Well, it's a long story. I was found by the Holy Crusader in a church with survivors of a Daedric invasion. The place was called Kvatch. It was my home, where my parents lived. I was visiting before I was stationed. I was an Imperial legionary. Then all hell broke loose. I followed the Crusader after that. I followed the Holy Crusader into Oblivion Gates, and we slaughtered the Daedra and shut down the gates. By the end of it, Martin Septim turned into a dragon and fought Mehrunes Dagon and defeated him. After the Oblivion Crisis, the Crusader returned to their duties and was seen entering a strange gate. But by then I had joined a new order of hunters, focused on hunting Daedra and their worshippers. Once the gates of Oblivion were forced shut, the Empire no longer worried about the Daedra. That's what we focused on, and the surviving members of the Mythic Dawn. I myself was after one. Her name was Paneloria Goldwine. She was the Count's daughter. She was such a spoilt child. She got everything she ever wanted. Her father never said no to her, and how does she repay that? She slits his throat in his own room, inviting the armies of Oblivion into my home. I ended up tracking her down into a cave north in Bruma. But what I didn't know, she had become a vampire to survive now that every member of the Mythic Dawn was known. I fought her as best as I could, but she was fast and relentless, and mortal wounds I inflicted didn't stop her. She tired me down and threw me into a cell while she fed off me. She had 3 others with her, other survivors. She left one night and didn't come back. I ended up dying of the infection and reawakening as a vampire. When they went to move my body out of the cage, I awoke and slaughtered them. And finding out she was off to Skyrim in attempts to rally what was left of the Mythic Dawn and open one more gate to the Deadlands. Before I slaughtered my guards, one of them pleaded for their lives by telling me the location of a camp they have set up in the Rift, in Skyrim. I agreed to spare their life, and once they told me, I made it quick. Less than those Daedra worshippers deserved. And that led me onto a trail, where I found information on their new leader, someone called Vonus, who had already built a Oblivion Gate and was on the search for a power source to keep it open. And well, that led me to the Iliad ruin of Riel. It was in the Gerald Mountains, right in the middle of Skyrim and Cyrodiil. Something I had done before many times in Cyrodiil, go deep into Iliad ruins. Just like any old elven civilization, it was covered with their undead, same as any old ruin in Skyrim with their Draugr. It seems the Whites had helped Tamriel by slaying this filth. Only wish I could have done it myself. The Mythic Dawn were after a great Welkin stone. I aided the Crusader in finding one in the ruins of Miskarkand. It helped us gain entry into Mankar Cameron's paradise. But they wanted one to keep a gate open without a sigil stone. They needed some elemental stones to unlock this hidden passage that held the great Welkin stone. I found all 4 of them, on the Iliad Undead and the Dead Mythic Dawn.
Only the Avatar mastered all 4 elements.
And there it was. Not many humans ever got to see 2 great Welkin stones. The Iliads were a cruel people, but they made some very beautiful things. Shouldn't have been surprised. It's not an Iliad ruin without a lich guarding its secrets. The Vigil showed up, but they ended up attacking me. For being a vampire, they didn't care that I was on their side. All they saw was a bloodsucker and tried to put me down, so I was forced to kill them. While I was in there, I had lost track of time. When I left, the sun was up. At this time, I wasn't ready for the sunlight. It made my skin burn, and it was so bright outside it hurt my eyes and made me feel ill. If a vampire can even feel ill. So I waited. I waited for the night to come back. Then I'd make my move on the Mythic Dawn's last stand. Then I'd make my move. I would get my revenge on Panaloria and wipe out the Mythic Dawn in one stroke. The night had become so beautiful as a vampire, but where I was going to be anything but beautiful. I made sure there were no survivors. I killed every last one I saw. There it was. The gate. And the Mythic Dawn's new and last leader. And the traitorous bitch that set my city on fire. My time had come. It was time to snuff out this dawn and bring them to dusk. When I killed him, the gate opened. In my vengeance, I wasn't thinking. These gates require a sacrifice to open. Like Panaloria sacrificed her father, and I had brought the power source of this gate with me. In my eagerness to get revenge, I opened up the last gate for the Mythic Dawn. When last we fought, she had the edge, but she turned me into a vampire. Now she would have to face me again, but this time on even footing. She didn't stand a chance. Digging my blade into her back felt so good. You could feel the fear coming from her. The only person that I've ever wanted to give a slow and painful death. But I didn't have the time. I needed to see what was on the other side of the gate and snuff it out, and see if I can close it, like we did during the Oblivion Crisis. This wasn't a place I missed. Nothing fills the body with dread like the plains of Oblivion. There was no sun to slow me down, but the place was quite hot. This place was empty, little to no Daedra. Maybe it was because Mehrunes Dagon was defeated and still recovering from his fight with Akatosh. Maybe these Daedra were going to slaughter these cultists for failing their lord. This place was designed to kill anything. The flowers would shoot poisonous mist filling your lungs, or vines that would whip you with their barbs and penetrate your armor. Not to mention the grass. It was so sharp that it could slice through your armor. During the raids into Oblivion during the Oblivion Crisis, I saw so many men die to the flora itself. The place wasn't called the Living Lands after all. I cleared out the Daedra I could find, but there was no sigil stone to shut down the gate. So I returned to Tamriel, to be greeted by more Mythic Dawn cultists, and the Vigilance finally showed up. Even though I wore their armor and I was one of them, they still attacked me, because I was a vampire. They left me no choice. I decided the only way to keep Tamriel safe was to collapse the cave this gate was built on, and that's what I did. No Daedra would be able to get through. All was done. My revenge for Panalora complete. The Mythic Dawn being put into extinction, and the last gate of Oblivion forced shut. I thought about what I had become. Something made from evil, from a Daedric prince, that vampires were a blight to all life. But I was able to use this power for good. That I stood no chance as a mere mortal. That this curse can be a gift for others. And I decided then, I would remain a vampire and do good. Only feed on those who have forfeit their rights to live. Around 200 years have passed to the current time. Much has happened. An Imperial warlord became the first non-dragonborn emperor in 1,000 years, and his dynasty still rules the Empire 200 years on. In recent times, the Empire went to war with the Aldmeri Dominion. They came after the Oblivion Crisis, claiming that they saved all elven kind from the Daedra. The Empire called for a peace treaty, which the Nords of Skyrim did not like. And that peace is brewing another war. It's just a matter of time until it truly goes off. Ulfric Stormcloak was imprisoned just after the war's end for Talos worship, which was outlawed by the Empire due to the peace treaty. He was released 6 years ago after his father's death, and has divided Skyrim with his anger and call for an independent Skyrim. For myself, I remained in Skyrim, for its cold weather and sun weren't as bad here. I hunted Daedra that survived. I had also become a mercenary. I would hunt bad people for gold, and that's how I would feed, and rescue those who were taken from bad people. I kept my old Vigil armor and made it black to blend it to the night, for I hunted all sorts during the night, when I was at my strongest and they were tired.
Time to end this little game.
Don't hurt me. I understand.
As the sun would rise, I'd try and get back to the steward to get my reward. But if they were in sleep, I would find the nearest inn and sleep before the sun would go down. Then get my reward. I had earned the name, Dark Knight of Skyrim. For my stories were told by Nords for 100 years. A black armored woman slaughtering bandits or rescuing people from them. The vigilance grew in Skyrim too. Where the Dark Knight stories went, they followed. Not to mention I rescued a child in the dead of a cold winter's night. A 10-year-old pure-born werewolf. I raised her and trained her. Her name was Freya, and like me, she is now a mercenary.
Alrighty, so I want to do outros on every end of one of these sort of things, explain the inspiration behind it, the crap that I went through doing it, and the mods that I used. So, firstly, inspiration. Inspiration actually comes from another modder called Fourth Unknown. He should be a known name if you're watching this. He's made many great armors, and one of his armors was, I think, Mythic Dawn armor. Looked awesome, and I created a female character out of it, made it look like a demon. People kept calling her a vampire. So I was like, rightio. And then I was currently playing Oblivion at the time, like just for a bit of fun. And I was actually in the Count's room where he lay dead. And I'm a bit of a thinker, right? I'm thinking, yeah, if you walk around Kvatch and Oblivion, you'll find dead bodies. They're beautified, they're cut all up, they're decapitated, mutilated, all sorts of stuff. The Daedrus, you know, they like to use human carcasses as art. And if you ever go, you know, like, so the Daedra don't kill nicely, right? They make a mess of you. But when you go inside the Count's room, you find he's pretty clean, you know, just in a pool of his own blood. Ironic that he has the name Goldwine. Or was it Wine Blood? Something like that. Blood Wine? I think it's that. Whatever. And yeah, he doesn't look like he was killed by the Daedra. He looks like he was killed in the comfort of his own room. Someone he trusted. So I made that character, the Mythic Dawn character, Lineal Goldwine, Bloodwine, where she was the daughter of the Count. Of course, not much is explored about Kvatch previously to the timeline of Oblivion because it's destroyed as soon as you go there. And you don't, there's no talk of a wife or any children. So I was able to fiddle around with that a little bit, and that's just the wrong word. And I created a daughter. You get a daughter who was, you know, your typical average spoiled little brat, who was just given everything in her life and never heard the word no. And, you know, hated her father for some reason and fell in love with a young roguish man that turned to be a Mythic Dawn agent, and which led her to become a Mythic Dawn spy who walked into her father's room and slit his throat and opened the gates of Oblivion. Now Cecilia's backstory, it works at that because her parents lived there. She was raised there. She was visiting him before a ship change over to another fort, stationed somewhere, and all hell broke loose. And she will be inside the church with the survivors, you know, during the Oblivion crisis, when my character finally goes and does that. But hopefully it'll be the Holy Crusader before then, because that's my entire story arc with Oblivion. Is do some horrible shit, realize it's horrible shit, go on a good path, become the Holy Crusader eventually, and then do the story as a Holy Crusader, you know, the Holy Knight fighting armies of hell sort of thing. And yeah, so she was created, and then so I basically, I created a story, it was like a prequel, and this isn't my last save, so it was long overdue, long past I do anything about it. And so a sequel to Oblivion, where Cecilia had joined under the newly forming group called the Vigils, before they fully became the Vigilance of Stendarr. And she found out, you know, because every Mythic Dawn agent would have been discovered and known by the time of their destruction. And she was hunting the one that destroyed her city. And what she didn't know is that this woman, this young, spoilt princess, was pretty much, had become a vampire to survive. And she ran rings around Cecilia. Her supernatural strength and speed, and that she could take mortal blows and not be defeated. Cecilia just couldn't keep up. He didn't have the stamina for it because she wasn't a vampire. And this woman basically pinned her down, threw her in a cage and fed on her. Until of course she went to Skyrim to follow the Cause quest line, which is the whole entire quest which makes my story a sequel to Oblivion and no prequel to Skyrim. And eventually Cecilia, you know, in the story she dies, turns into a vampire, frees herself, and follows the trail into the cause. Now, the cause is Creation Club content. It doesn't make much sense that it happens in the timeline of Skyrim. The Mythic Dawn finally come back and try to open a gate for their Lord Dagon. To me, it really made sense that it would be a surviving unit, the survivors of the Oblivion Crisis, you know, the Mythic Dawn agents that weren't killed. They're rallying for one last time to open a gate of Oblivion and please their Lord and have, you know, be saved or whatever the crap. It made more sense to me, it being these guys were all survivors of the Oblivion Crisis, which kind of made me hate them more because they were traitors that sought to destroy the world. Where the ones in Skyrim, if you play the Creation Club stuff as normal, they aren't. They're just idiots that join into a cult. So, yeah, it made more sense to me to make it a early 4th era sort of installation. It felt more fun for them being runaways, you know, like, it felt good finally putting the Mythic Dawn to death. Because quite a few of them would have survived after the Oblivion Crisis and ran away and hid and all that sort of stuff. And I finally get to put, I finally get to put them down. All the ones that tried to reconnect. And Cecilia finally got her vengeance. So, yeah, all I had to do in that for the creation kit was pretty much just change of the words in the diaries and the dates from the 200th year to the 4th year of the 4th era. That's pretty fun. Now, of course, you no doubt can see that her face right here is quite vividly gross, and if you've got an eye for that, you would notice that her face is different from when she first became a vampire and right now. Because if you actually, it's actually in-game stuff I got this from. Very long memory of being a teenager, playing Oblivion, talking to the vampire in Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary. He tells you that, you know, after being a vampire for so long, your face becomes, looks like you're fully starved. And, I don't know, it's like, you can't fix it. The longer you stay a vampire, the more your face looks deformed. And you can't reverse it. And I thought, that'd be a great idea for Skyrim. I think my vampires, you can tell if they're an ancient or an elder, you can tell if they're an elder or older. Or if they're a fledgling, or if they've been recently, you know, if they're like 100 or so years old. So I took that and I changed her face from this, you know, to make it look a bit more, well, because, you know, the current, she goes through a 200-year gap. Anyway, so, as you can see, it's quite beautiful right now, and I played the game in a very gross format, like this. Because when I'm telling these stories, I want you to feel like you are playing this character, and that you are watching the story through their eyes. And this is what I believe vampires see through, because their body goes through a supernatural transformation, and their eyes become a lot more in tune to the darkness than it does the light. And of course, this is the light. This is what Cecilia would see out in the daylight. Very, well, you can't see too far ahead. You can see pretty far ahead, but as you can see, I can see the majority of Skyrim right here. But then it's completely blinded. I can't see that. It's completely gone. It looks gross. It physically hurts me as a player, and that's what I kind of want. I want to feel that the sunlight is disgusting. That I want to play in nighttime. Because playing as a vampire, I don't like the nighttime because it's bloody dark. I can't see. So I have better vampires to able to make me see better at nighttime. So the nighttime looks beautiful. Yep. As you can see right here. Is the time speeding up? No. It looks quite beautiful. I can see very far away. Where I wouldn't be able to see pretty much anything in front of me probably. Let's have a look. Yeah. So my vision is completely just flopped. It's gone lopsided. I can't see anything. But now I can see everything, and that's what I love about better vampires and it's vampire night vision. You can up the scale and down the scale by how bright you want it to be. And I want it to be super bright, so during the daytime it's ugly, during the night it's beautiful. So it makes me want to play as a vampire. There's a sort of roleplay perspective, but the nighttime is beautiful and quiet and I can see everything, where the daytime is ugly and gross and it's so bright. And it kind of puts into that more roleplay perspective of playing the character, which I really like. What else is there? I don't know. about inspiration, I think I've said everything. The mods that I used, I used Proteus. Now Proteus is an amazing mod, hands down. It allows you to save your presets, your playable character presets, save them into Proteus, and then apply it to an NPC. That's how I was able to change her face from just a pale-looking vampire Imperial to this, her face being sort of morphed into whatever the hell you want to call this. You know, this deformed-looking vampire face. Yeah, Proteus is an amazing mod. It allows... Ignore that message. Ignore it. It's an amazing mod which allows me to customize NPCs on the fly, which is absolutely essential to when you're playing a game or a playthrough with multiple different characters in it. Because when I'm not playing as them, they're NPCs doing their thing. They're out there doing their thing. And being able to change them, update them over time, is really, really immersive and good for that playthrough. Second mod that I use, which is just as godly, and it's an old mod. It's called Alternate Actors, and it allows me to jump into that. Well, it allows me to play as an NPC. I'm able to jump into them, take inventory, I think their stats the majority of the time, and all that sort of stuff. It's absolutely, I couldn't play a family. Like, to be able to play as an NPC is freaking amazing. I'm not playing the main character right now. I'm playing my follower, Cecilia, that I made as a follower. I didn't make him with Proteus, I made him in the creation kit. All my followers I did. Yeah, so I'm able to play as her, and if I jump out of her and have her as an NPC, I'm able to update her look with Proteus, and yeah, it's really essential. So hopefully that's a good enough outro to explain the sort of inspiration, mods used, and how it all came to be. Hope you enjoyed, and if you like, remember to subscribe, like, and all that other crap, and I prefer a comment really, because, you know, I'd rather have a conversation. Why not? If you guys do this sort of stuff, if it inspires you, if you've got your own stories, let me bloody know. Because that's probably the fun of this, you know, when I upload this video. I don't care about the views, how many views it gets. I want to care about the interaction that people really enjoy, if they like it, if it inspires them, or if they've got their own story, something similar to me. Because I've never seen a YouTuber, or even another player, that has a multi-character playthrough that's probably as in-depth as mine. And I'd like to meet one, or even, you know, talk to one. Anyway, I'm out of here. Hope you guys have enjoyed, and be safe.